Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Joy of Building. Today we'll be making a little bit of a cloud city. So first we'll be making clouds. So as you guys can see, I've got all kinds of white blocks in my inventory, and I've got a little bit of a void over here. So I've got all these white blocks, and there's more in the game. There's also diorite, and maybe you can use birchwood in some cases. But I just wanted to look at a bunch of these, because you can look at them in the inventory, but actually placing them down gives us a better overview. So right away, I can say we're not going to be making our clouds out of the white concrete or out of the white shulker boxes. Why not? Because they're a little bit grayish, and I don't want to be making rain clouds. So what I do want to use, snow. It's a little bit of a bluish tinge, so I'm not going to be using that either. Iron, it's got those gray lines around it, so if I've got like a wall of this, I can easily distinguish each individual block, so I'm not going to be using those. And what we're left with is just a couple of blocks. Now I'm going to have to pick a main block type, and I'm going to pick the white wool, because to me that's the most bright of all of the blocks. These are a little bit darker, the quartz ones. And I'm just gonna use the white as the main body. And then I'm gonna fluff the clouds up with a little bit of glass and a little bit of quartz. So let's get started, shall we? First of all, I want a little bit of a cloud in this corner. And I'm going to be making clouds in two different ways, I think. So first of all, I'm just going to make a cloud entirely by hand. And then the other ones I'm gonna be using a little bit of world edit to help me out a little bit and make it a bit faster going. So, at the time of recording this, I have already uploaded the first episode. So, feedback has started to come in, and I can respond to some of that right now. So, first thing I heard from people is from the people I actually play Minecraft with on a server, is that the builds I'm making aren't the top quality they were expecting. Now, there's one main reason for this, in my opinion, why I wasn't putting hours and hours into making the best builds. And the main reason is just simply I want episodes where you guys can see from beginning to end, understand what's going on, and if you're new to the game, even if you're new to the game, you can follow along. So, that's why I have been doing these episodes the way I have been. And I'm putting a little bit of grass at the top, by the way, just to have a little bit of a place to build later on. Because we're also going to be putting buildings on top of these. Alright. So, I'll continue that thought in a little bit. First I'll show you what I mean by fluffing up the clouds. It's just with the chiseled quartz I'm making patches of maybe 3 to 7 or so blocks just around the cloud. And that should just give it a little bit more texture, give it a bit of personality. And with the glass I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm not going to make patches. I'm going to use it kind of like it's a half slab, and it's going each time it goes from one layer to the next. I can put maybe 1 or 2 glass panes in between. And then for the full glass blocks, they can go just about anywhere. And be careful you don't make little windows into the actual cloud. You still want to have some wool behind each one of them. Sometimes I want to put 2 together. Or I don't want to see the grass like that, so I'll move it 1 block down. Alright, so that's one island. And next one I'm going to use a bit of world edit. So the cloud I made, it's got a flat bottom to it. Why do I make a cloud with a flat bottom? Well, it's because if you look in real life, clouds usually start around the same level. And then they have a really fluffy top part. So what that means for us is really simple. We're just gonna have to make the cloud start at around the same level. I'm making this one start 1 block higher, and I'm making this cloud a bit bigger also. And so, coming back to why my builds aren't the top quality, it basically comes down to what I already said. I'm not spending too much time on each build because I want you guys to follow along, and doing one of these a week. Okay, so basically, in short, I'm not spending so much time as I would maybe do if it was just one of my regular builds. So how can we fix that? One way to fix that is just to have more cuts in the episode, or just put or just have a lot longer episodes. That's one way to fix it. But I don't want to have longer episodes. Why not? I think the episodes are already really, really long, in my opinion. So I'm not going to do that. So how else could I show you guys better builds while not making these episodes absurdly long? And I've come up with a solution, and the solution is basically I'm going to make this episode a 2-part episode. And I don't want to take away from the amount of builds I'm going to give you guys. So how we're going to do that is we're simply going to have the first episode of the first part of each episode going to be up on Friday. And if it's a 2-part episode, well, then that second part of the episode will be up on Saturday, so that you guys can have 2 kind of episodes a week instead. And you don't have to wait a full week in order to finish your builds if you're building along with us. So I'm fairly certain this one's gonna be our very first 2-part episode, because I want to just... This is one where I want to explain a couple things and talk with you guys, because it's a bit of a different building style I'm using this time around. So, well, first of all, we're not working on the ground, so we're making clouds instead. That's different. And what we're also doing is the style of buildings we're putting on here is gonna be a bit different. Alright, so I think that's high enough. So let's put some grass on, and then I want this half of the island, or the cloud I should say. It's kind of like a floating island, so if you want to make a floating island but you don't want it all sharp at the bottom, you can make it into a cloud shape and you're good to go. And as always when building terrain, don't be too precise. You can always change things around, and it's better to make a bad first attempt and then change it later than just not starting at all. So, alright, and then I want this grass bit to go over like this. Let's make it like that. And then let's fill our grass again. Now because this cloud is a bit larger, I want to have our white border be a little bit thicker. So I'm gonna go ahead and just replace some of the grass blocks with a bit more wool. Like so. Let's put one grass block back. And let's also get rid of a couple blocks over here. Just making it a little bit more interesting. Alright. And then let's fluff it up a bit more again. So again, making patches of about 3 to 5 chiseled quartz or whatever your block of choice is. I'm gonna use chiseled quartz. But of course, if you want it a bit darker, then you can use the white concrete or maybe even just normal quartz. I like the textured look of the chiseled quartz instead of the normal quartz. I think it fits the overall build better because there's so much wool in here. And I'm going to use normal quartz later on, so I wouldn't want too much normal quartz. Gotta have that variety in blocks. Alright, let's put some glass panes around. And again, each time the cloud goes to a new layer, that's probably a good place to place a pane. Not somewhere like here, but scooch it over a little bit so it's next to where it meets the new layer. So in this build we're gonna have 3 of these clouds. I'm gonna make another one that's in size, like right in between the big one and the small one. No, actually maybe just a little bit bigger than the small one. Not too big, not too small. So on the big island, we're just gonna have a little bit of a house. On the small island, I'm thinking of having a little, how do you say it? Like it's a bit of a teleport area, like a teleporter, I would say. Oh, there's dirt behind there, but we can remove that. So that's like the entrance. Like think of it like we're building a server spawn, and that's where the players would spawn then. Alright, that's quite a fluffy cloud if you ask me. And on the big cloud we're also going to be having just a little bit of a fountain. And on the middle island, the middle-sized island, we're going to have a little bit of a chapel. And we're going to have bridges in between the islands to connect everything up. And then we're also going to have a little bit of a road connecting everything up. Alright, so this last one doesn't need to be too large. So maybe... And it's quite close to the other one as well. Maybe I'll move it. So moving something is easy for me because I have world edit for you guys. If you don't have world edit, it's gonna be quite a bit of a pain. So if you don't have world edit, I would suggest taking a step back a little bit more often and looking where you're at in relation to everything else a little bit more often than I'm doing. Because it's gonna be a little bit more trouble if you're gonna have to change something later on. Or change some big parts. So I think that's okay. Let's fill it in entirely and then have some grass at the top again. Making this a little bit more of a border. And then we'll fluff this one up as well. And as always, you don't have to worry too much about these blocks in particular because they're not that big a deal. They're just giving it a little bit more spice, you know? It's good if they're not perfect either, so. Alright, put some glass panes on there. Like, the reason it's good if they're not perfect is that if you're built, and I say perfect, but of course, no build is ever going to be perfect. There's always something you can improve. But what I mean is like, don't make it too organized because that's just not how clouds look. So making it too organized will just make it look a bit strange. Alright, there's our 3 clouds. And first of all, we're going to be making our little, what I would say is a little bit of a teleport area. So I want a little bit of a circle, and it's not gonna fit onto the island, but that's not a big deal, really. It doesn't bother me that much. Things like that happen. So if you find out your build doesn't fit on your island, just make your island a bit bigger. Like this. And I'm probably going to have to make the large island a bit bigger as well. So there we go. And don't forget to fluff up the new areas a bit as well. Alright, and there we go. So let's go back to this one. And let's grab some smooth stone with it as well. So I want a little bit of a, I guess you could call it a pedestal to start with. And then we're going to go back out again. But now we're going to use quartz in the second circle. So this is exactly above our first circle, above the half slabs down there. And we're just going to fill in this middle bit as well. So this is going to be our floor. And we're going to have a couple of pillars. So maybe let's have the bottom part of our pillars be chiseled quartz, and then let's just make them go up like this. And how high you want to make them depends on your personal preference. But I'm just eyeballing it, so it's not too important. And we want to have a little bridge over here. So we probably want to have that pillar stop over there, but then we still want it connecting to the other pillars. So we're going to have these little half slabs guided a little bit. Alright, let's grab some cobblestone fences. Let's just simply put them in between these and in the corners as well. Oops. So that's where our roof can rest on. And beneath those we'll put some slabs just to make it look like it's all a bit more connected. And then over here we'll put some slabs. Again, using stone brick, but it doesn't matter which one you want to use. If you don't like stone brick, just use smooth stone slabs, cobblestone slabs, whatever you want to use. Alright, so let's put a roof on this thing. And I'm just going to make the roof. First of all, I'm making a circle, but I want it to be a sphere. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to copy my circle, my half circle, and then just putting it on top, and then doing the same thing on each side. So first is 3 blocks, then it's 1 block on and 3 blocks that way. So it's going to be 3 blocks across, then 1 block down, and then 3 blocks down, but that's the end. And then the thing with a sphere is it's going to be the same on all sides. So if we decide we want a block over there, for example, I'm going to have to put it over there and over there as well. But also looking from the top, we're going to have to put it in between this here. And like that, it looks a bit like a pyramid. So what I want to do is just connect it up over there. But if we connect it up over there, we're also going to have to connect it up down here. And if you're having trouble visualizing this all, it's understandable. It's not something that just comes naturally. It's something you really have to practice. And if you just have world edit, that's easy as well. You just can use the world edit. So now the roof is a bit boring, so I'm just going to put some flair on it. Just gonna put a little bit of that around. Put a couple of stairs. Or stairs. Cobblestone walls. And then we're going to have some more slabs all around. And in the corners we're going to have a double slab where the pillar can connect. So it's like it's holding it down, like it's a bit of a rope. I don't know. Just something to make it a bit more interesting. And I told you guys this was going to be a bit of a teleporter-like area. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get some blue and purple concrete. And we're also going to have magenta and light blue window panes. And then on the floor we're going to have some, I don't know, just some area. And put a little bit of light in there, so we're going with a bit of a blue theme in this build, so we're going to have the sea lanterns instead of glowstone. And then we're just going to have some of these floating around, and these can be really annoying to place. So what you could do if you have world edit is just place normal blocks and then replace them later on. But I'm just going to do this by hand. So as you can see, I'm going a bit around in a circle. So oops, and while going up as well. And that's just to give it a little bit more of a magical touch. So we're going to put the purple ones over here. Make it go up 2 blocks. And again, this is something I don't want to have too calculated. You want to have it a bit all over the place. It's not going to be 2 straight lines or... Alright, put a purple one over there. Alright, so there we go. And then we can just, if we want to, put a little bit of lighting in here. Like so. It doesn't have to be, well, it is a bit fancy. It doesn't have to be too much. And then if you want to have this as your spawn point, you can, well, in survival you can't, but if you're on a server you can set the spawn point over there. So let's work on a bit of a bridge. And I want the bridge to be in the same theme, so we're gonna have blue and purple again. But this time I'm actually going to use blue and purple instead of light blue and magenta. And we're just going to have the bridge start over there and just go diagonally. It's just a simple way to do it. You could have all kinds of arches and stuff like that, but for now let's just do it a bit simple. And we're a bit lucky, I suppose, that the islands are on the same height, because that makes the bridge building a bit easier, but it doesn't make it so interesting. So I actually want the bridge to not be on the same level on each side, but what can you do? It just so happens to be on the same level this time around. So to give it a little bit of a so that it feels a bit like a curve, so just a bit of an illusion of a curve. Going to make this, the side railing, a curve. And then we can put some of those at the end. And then over here we can put things like this. Alright, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna make a little bit of a path, and for the path I want to use either some of this or some of this, and I think I'm going with the darker one because, well, first of all, it fits with the grass better, and the reason I'm picking this type of sand is just so that I can have a little bit of a texture in there. It's not gonna be much and it's not gonna stand out too much, but I don't want that for this build, so that's why I'm choosing this type of block. And I'm just going to have the road wrap around over here. And then in between we're going to place some leaves with some logs in between. So for example over there and over there, there's going to be a bit of a log. And we're just going to have this function as a wall. And then we're going to have a tree at the end. Just because there's going to be a little bit of a house over there. And we want it to be like, it's a rich guy. He has a wall around his house. So we're gonna have a bit of a tree over here. We're not going to completely build a tree, but we're just going to have our little outline over here. Alright. So going to have to continue all over here. Let's put a log over there. And I know, of course, you can just, it's not too much of a wall, you can just jump over it. But, you know, most people wouldn't do that. That would be rude. Alright, so what I want to do is I want to make a bit of an entrance. Make it a little bit special, so I'm gonna have some banners up on here. Put some andesites. Then we're going to have some stone walls. Make it a little bit high. And then we'll top it off like that. And I was saying, this is a rich guy, so he's gonna have some banners on there. And I'm just using these banners because I have them at the ready, but you can use your own banners. So this banner is just supposed to be my face of my Minecraft skin, like that. So it's kind of similar. Anyway, we're going to have a bit of a fountain over here. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Alright, the water's gonna come out over there, so what do we want? Let's actually just use some smooth stone on there. Some more cobblestone pillars. We're going to use some stone brick stairs on the sides. And that one on the back. Use some more smooth andesite on the back. And some smooth stone. Some more stairs. And another slab. And we're going to put the water over there. But first of all, we want this bit to be stone. so it doesn't look too out of place. And the water over there. So that's a bit of a fountain. We're going to continue our leafage around it, and some leaves will be drooping down a bit. Nothing too major though. And I guess over here we could put a little bit of a bench, so let's do that. We don't need the water anymore. And let's just put some sandstone over there. And put a sign on the side. Just some little hand railing. Actually, now that I think about it, these would be very well suited for something like this. For the bottom of a fountain. Maybe more of a swimming pool bottom, but if you want to use the new block sometime, this would be a place to use them. I don't know if it's the best place, but hey, let's just do it. Alright, so I'm gonna make the wall a little bit higher over here. And that's going to be it for part 1 of this episode. In the next episode we're going to be building a little bit of a house. Maybe I'll need a bit more space on the cloud, so I might just expand this a bit, but who knows, we'll see next episode. And then we'll be making a little bit of a temple with an angel statue inside of it. We'll see how that goes. So, stay tuned for next part of the episode. It's going to be out tomorrow at the same time. So, I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I'll see you in part 2 of this 2-part building episode. Bye bye.